Statesman, businessman, inventor, author, Benjamin Franklin is one of the most famous founding fathers and icons of Americana. But who is the real Ben Franklin? Beneath the schoolbook history and patriotic deification lies a mysterious man with strange ties to occult groups and secret societies. From his involvement in the elite Hellfire Club,
sex was obviously a big part of these clubs,
to the charred bones of adults and children buried beneath his home.
We found almost 1,200 pieces of people.
What else is the famous revolutionary figure hiding?
Innumerable women that he had his way with.
It's about time we take a closer look at one of the nation's foremost founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin. Ask many people to name a founding father, and Benjamin Franklin will be one of the first names that comes to mind. He's almost a saint in American history. Textbooks and historians speak in glowing terms of Franklin's almanac, inventions, and undoubted contributions to the founding of our nation. But all is not what it seems when it comes to Old Ben. Researchers have discovered some troubling information that sheds new light on the legendary founder. We usually think of Benjamin Franklin as a wise sage, doddering diplomat, or ingenious inventor. However, few picture him as a flirty womanizer. But the truth is, Franklin was quite the player back in his day.
Throughout his life, Franklin's governed by sexual passions, he says. Franklin talked about how he learned to speak French by lounging on the pillows of his French mistresses.
This sketch was done in 1767 by a well-known artist after he had stumbled upon Ben and a young lady at Craven Street.
Franklin always had a taste for smart women, as well as a taste for beautiful women.
He consorted with what he called low women. He was evidently engaged with prostitutes.
And he reports to us that it's a stone miracle that he didn't come down with syphilis or some other venereal disease.
Not only did he love the women, they loved him back.
"Love me 1,000th part so well as I do you," urged one woman. Another confided, "You are the first man that ever received a private letter from me." Yet a third implored, "If it ever pleases you to remember the woman who loved you the most, think of me."
Franklin, along with many of the most prominent founding fathers, George Washington included, belonged to the Freemasons. In fact, not only was he a devout Mason, he even became the head of the Lodge of Philadelphia. But it is his involvement with another, much darker and more exclusive group that draws suspicion. What many do not know is that Franklin was also secretly a member of a group dedicated to pleasure and the worship of ancient gods, known as the Hellfire Club. The most notorious of these groups met in a secret cave in West Wycombe, England. Owned by the wealthy and prominent Francis Dashwood, he created a complete man-made cave system on his property with dark caverns and chambers in which the club performed their strange rituals.
Sometime during Sir Francis Dashwood's lifetime, secret rooms and tunnels were added to the caves. The mystery about why this was done has endured for more than 250 years.
A terrifying history lies behind the Hellfire Caves. At the time, a group from high society used these caves as a place of worship. Here, concealed to the outer world, they could pray to Satan in secret. This group was known as the Hellfire Club. Long, eerie corridors lead to secret little corners where the club members carried out satanic rituals at night.
At the end of the cave system is a chamber known as the Inner Temple, reserved for elite members only.
There might have been very many members of the Hellfire Club. Only those that were part of the inner circle were entitled to be a part of certain ceremonies. They were kept very secret from the rest of the members.
The bizarre sex parties and satanic rituals depicted in Eyes Wide Shut are very old, and the 18th century had its versions as well.
They do seem to have been indulging in much extreme sexuality. Sex was obviously a big part of these clubs.
A statue of Hippocrates, the ancient god of secrets, with his finger over his mouth, reminded members to never speak of what took place in the cave. Written above the entrance was the phrase, "Do what thou wilt," in Latin, a motto that would go on to be adopted by the notorious Aleister Crowley. While in England, Franklin was a frequent attendant at the Hellfire Club rituals, held in the secret caves at Wycombe.
Inside the caves, carvings of evil faces line the walls, drawn 2 centuries ago by these Satanists.
Dashwood, Franklin, and the Earl of Sandwich were all said to have been Hellfire Club leaders. Along with being fellow Hellfire Club members, Dashwood and Franklin were also close friends.
This is how he met the eccentric and influential Sir Francis Dashwood.
And when they did meet, they became very firm friends. They seemed to share many of the same ideas about religion.
Franklin spent the summers of 72, 73, and 74 at the Dashwood estate. In fact, Franklin was too busy partying it up with the Hellfire Club to go attend his wife back home in Philadelphia before she died, despite her many pleas.
The fact that he knows his wife of many years is ill, he knows that she wants him to come home, and he doesn't really speak well of Franklin's attachment to this relationship.
The Hellfire Club included several other powerful members who held high office at the time. Numerous sources refer to these caves being filled with ghosts and restless spirits. But the Hellfire Clubs were not just limited to England. They spread to colonial America as well, where they continued their ritualistic practices.
There appear to have been tavern rumours that even if they weren't called Hellfire Clubs, similar clubs did exist in colonial America. There are accounts that people were actually arrested for hiring young girls and getting them to strip naked so that they could look at them. And possibly a version of the club for transvestites as well.
But a troubling discovery under Franklin's British home would cast an even darker shadow on the founding father. In 1998, workers at Benjamin Franklin's former home on 36 Craven Street in London were excavating part of the basement when they made a disturbing find: human bones. As they continued to dig, they found more: 1,200 bone pieces from at least 15 people, some of them children. Was the famous founding father actually a serial killer?
The Franklin House Conservation Committee allowed only a 3-foot square pit to be excavated. In that small area, they found nearly 1,200 human remains. Fingers, skulls of men, women, children.
The remains date back to the time period when Benjamin Franklin rented the house.
This was the London home of founding father Benjamin Franklin for 16 years. And sometime during his stay here, all those body parts ended up here too. Real skeletons in Franklin's closet.
The Smithsonian and mainstream historians are quick to give the explanation that Franklin was merely grave robbing the bodies of his friends' medical experimentations, as dissecting human bodies for research was illegal at the time.
Presumably, there are many other remains that still exist beyond that one area where the bones were found, which are the remnants of the Houston Anatomy School, and they were teaching some very interesting things about medical procedure.
The truth is, we have no idea how the bones got there, and Franklin's known involvement in the devil worship groups adds even darker possibilities. Pictures show some of these bones are charred as if they had been partially burned before they were buried, and animal bones were also said to be among the remains. And how many human bones might be buried in the dark caverns of Dashwood's Cave? Futurama, an animated sitcom from the creators of The Simpsons, made a sly reference to Franklin's Satanism in their episode, All the President's Heads.
Who made this? Intricate filigree, satanic symbols. Looks like one of mine.
But the Hellfire Club was not Franklin's only secret membership. The celebrated philosopher was also a member, if not the leader, of many of the most prominent secret societies and orders of his time, both in Europe and America. Franklin was a member of the Masonic networks in France, such as the Nine Sisters and the San Juan Lodges, which is how he was so well connected.
Shortly after his arrival, Franklin became master of the most celebrated and powerful lodge in Paris, the Lodge of the Nine Sisters. There he met many of France's most powerful political and military leaders.
So where did his loyalties really lie? Is it possible that American independence was an idea created and executed by these secret societies? It was during this time that Adolf Weishaupt was recruiting prominent members of the Freemasons to join an exclusive order dedicated to utmost secrecy and the worship of Lucifer. Was Benjamin Franklin a member of Weishaupt's newly formed group? Today, the author of Poor Richard's Almanac is more famous than ever. His sly smirk is recognized worldwide, and his name graces streets, businesses, and buildings. But who is the real Benjamin Franklin? Few know that he was involved in a secret order that practiced satanic rites and bizarre sex magic rituals, or that the bones of adults and children were found under his former home. Was the revered founding father secretly carrying out an ancient religion, one that involved sacrifices and dark rituals? Many alternative researchers such as Fritz Springmeier and David Icke believe so, and have identified Franklin as a high-level Satanist. So what do you believe? What are we to make of the human bones buried beneath his home? I will check to see what you think in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and check out my other documentaries. I also want to give a very special thank you to the generous people who donate to this channel through Patreon and PayPal. Your contributions keep this channel running. Thank you.